Have you ever wondered what happens when someone who tried to control you realizes they no longer have that power? Imagine this: someone who once whispered lies into your ears, someone who thrived on your weakness, someone who fed off your fear, suddenly finding out they can't touch you anymore. That's when the mask comes off and you see their desperation for what it really is. People who live like witches, those manipulators, controllers, and deceivers, don't just walk away quietly. No, when you rise above them, when you break free from their chains, they fight harder and they reveal their true nature in the ugliest ways. And if you're not prepared, their last attempts to drag you back under can catch you off guard. The first thing they do is spread lies. They can't control your mind anymore, so they try to control how others see you. They will invent stories, twist facts, poison conversations, all to make sure your reputation takes the hit. They can't land on your spirit. They want you isolated, doubted, and questioned, because their fear is that others will see your strength the way you now see it yourself. The second thing they do is play the victim. Suddenly, they're the one who's been wronged, abandoned, mistreated. They'll cry, they'll plead, they'll gather sympathy, not because they're hurting, but because it's their last weapon to guilt you back into their control. Watch closely. Tears can be crocodile tears, and apologies can be just rehearsed performances designed to hook you again. The third thing they do is attack your confidence. They know they can't overpower you directly anymore, so they come after your self-worth. They'll whisper doubts. You're not as strong as you think. You'll fail without me. You'll regret leaving. These are not truths. They are daggers thrown from desperation. They want to shrink you back into the smaller version of yourself that was easier to manipulate. The fourth thing they do is use others against you. They can't reach you head on, so they send messengers, flying monkeys, people they've deceived into fighting their battle for them. Suddenly, you'll notice old friends turning distant, co-workers giving you strange looks, family members asking odd questions. That's not coincidence. It's the ripple effect of a witch's hand, trying to choke your circle when they can't choke you. The fifth thing they do is try to invade your peace. They'll show up where they know you'll be. They'll message you at odd hours. They'll drag your name into conversations to pull you back into their chaos. Because peace is power. When you have peace, you become untouchable, and they can't stand the fact that you now live in freedom without them. The sixth thing they do is test your boundaries. They'll knock softly at first. Can we talk? Can we meet just once? They'll disguise manipulation as concern, control as care, bondage as love. And if you give in even an inch, they will flood right back in, reminding you why you walked away in the first place. Hold your ground. Boundaries are not walls to keep people out. They are shields to protect your soul. And the seventh thing they do, the most desperate move of all, they will try to become you. When they realize they cannot destroy you, they will try to imitate you. Your strength, your confidence, your light, it will irritate them, but also draw them. They will copy your words, mimic your behavior, try to wear your identity like a mask. But remember this, imitation is the greatest confession of defeat. They know they can't beat you, so the only thing left is to pretend to be you. When people like this realize they no longer have a grip on you, the very first move they make is to poison your image. They spread lies, they take fragments of truth, twist them, and craft a story that fits their agenda. Because if they can't manipulate your mind anymore, they'll try to manipulate the minds of others. You'll notice whispers behind your back, stories that don't add up, people suddenly questioning you without knowing why. That's not coincidence, that's strategy. These individuals operate like shadows. They know that perception is power, and if they can tarnish your reputation, they think they can weaken your foundation. But here's what you need to understand. Lies only work on people who are already searching for a reason not to believe in you. The people meant for you, the ones who know your character, will see through the fog. That's why your job isn't to chase down every rumor. It's to keep standing in your truth so tall, so consistent, so unshakable, that their lies collapse under the weight of your integrity. Because the louder you live in truth, the smaller their whispers sound, and when the lies don't work, when they see that your character speaks louder than their poison, they switch tactics. Suddenly, they become the victim, the same person who once pulled the strings, who thrived on control, will now collapse into the role of the wounded soul. They'll look at you with eyes full of false hurt, they'll spin stories of betrayal, and they'll cry out that you abandoned them. But don't be fooled, this isn't remorse, it's manipulation dressed as pain. They know guilt is one of the fastest ways back into your life. They'll remind you of everything they supposedly did for you, every sacrifice they claim to have made, as if you owe them your freedom in return. This is not an apology, it's a performance, because the truth is, real victims don't need to broadcast their pain. They heal, they grow, they move forward. But a manipulator, a witch who's lost their power, they weaponize pity. They turn their weakness into a trap, hoping you'll rush in to rescue them, not realizing you're just putting the chains back on yourself. That's why you have to train your eyes to see beyond the tears, beyond the words, and recognize when sorrow is nothing more than a stage act designed to pull you back into their control. And when pity doesn't reel you back in, they come for the one thing that keeps you standing tall, your confidence. They know they can't touch your freedom anymore, so they attack the very core of how you see yourself. They'll plant subtle doubts in conversations, little jabs disguised as concern, comments meant to chip away at your worth. Are you sure you can handle this? You're not as strong without me. You'll regret walking away. Those words aren't advice, they're weapons. They are calculated strikes designed to shrink you back into the smaller, weaker version of yourself that was easier to control. And if you're not careful, you'll start to hear those voices not just from them, but from within yourself, because that's how manipulation works. It tries to turn their voice into your inner voice. But here's where you rise. You refuse to internalize their lies. You remind yourself that every step you took away from them was proof of strength. Every boundary you set was evidence of courage, and every moment you kept walking forward when it would have been easier to fall back, that's your confirmation. Confidence is not about never hearing the doubts. It's about refusing to let those doubts dictate your path. The moment you reclaim that power, they realize their words no longer carry the weight they once did. And that's when their grip truly breaks. And when they realize their words can't cut you down, when they see your confidence doesn't bend to their attacks, they turn to something even more insidious. They recruit others. Because if they can't come at you directly anymore, they'll try to come at you through the people around you. They'll whisper in ears, drop half-truths in conversations, plant little seeds of doubt in the minds of your friends, your family, your coworkers. They'll start with subtle suggestions. I'm just worried about them. Something feels off with how they've been acting. I don't think they're being honest with you. And those words begin to spread like smoke, slowly filling the room, until suddenly, the people you thought you could trust start looking at you differently. Not because you've changed, but because they've been fed poison by someone desperate to destroy your support system. That's their tactic, divide and conquer. They know you're stronger now, harder to reach, so they turn your circle into their battlefield. You'll notice people pulling away, conversations going cold, unexplained tension with those who once stood by your side. And if you're not aware, you'll waste energy fighting the wrong battles. trying to prove yourself to people who have been manipulated, instead of recognizing where the real attack is coming from. That's what a witch does when they lose control. They weaponize relationships, they send others to do their bidding, to wear you down through confusion, to make you doubt your own reality. But here's the truth you need to anchor into. When someone uses others against you, it doesn't expose your weakness, it exposes theirs. Because only someone too powerless to face you directly will hide behind others to deliver their blows. It reveals just how desperate they are, how fearful they've become of your strength, and here's where your discipline matters most. You can't control what others believe. You can't chase down every lie, every story, every poisoned thought that's been spread about you. That's a trap they set to drain your energy and pull you back into their game. Your focus has to stay on what's real, on who you are, on living in such undeniable integrity that the truth eventually reveals itself without you having to prove it. You see, people can be fooled temporarily, but not permanently. Lies may run fast, but they burn out quickly, while truth keeps walking steady. So when others start acting strange, when your circle feels like it's shifting, you remind yourself, this isn't about rejection, it's about exposure. The people who are easily swayed by gossip were never truly standing for you in the first place. Those who are meant for you will eventually see through the fog, because character always outs itself in the end. That's why instead of fighting to defend yourself, you rise higher, you stay consistent, you let your actions speak louder than their manipulation. And yes, it will hurt. It will hurt to see people you trusted suddenly distant, to watch relationships you valued start to fade. But remember, loss can sometimes be protection. Sometimes the very people who walk away under the influence of lies were doors that needed to close so you could step into a room with stronger, truer allies. You don't need a crowd behind you, you need clarity within you. And clarity comes from not lowering yourself into the mud to wrestle with their games. Because here's the bigger picture. When they use others against you, they're not just trying to break your circle, they're trying to break your focus. They want you distracted, busy defending yourself, so you forget to keep building, keep rising, keep walking forward. Don't fall for it. Let them talk, let them plot, let them gather whoever they can, because every minute they spend orchestrating against you is another minute you spend elevating beyond their reach. And eventually, those same people they used will see the truth, because lies unravel under the weight of consistency. So stand firm, keep your peace, let your integrity be your defense, because the more they try to control the people around you, the more they reveal just how powerless they are without you. That's the breaking point, when the world starts to see them for what they truly are, and sees you for who you've always been. And when they can't twist the truth anymore, when their stories lose power and their army of gossip starts to crumble, they shift their aim to the one place they know matters most, your peace. Because peace is dangerous to them, peace is power. When you're calm, when you're steady, when you're no longer reacting to their chaos, you've slipped out of their grip. So they come back in with noise. They'll show up where they know you'll be, not by accident, but by design. They'll send you messages at odd hours, little reminders of their presence, just enough to disrupt your mind. They'll drag your name into conversations you never asked to be part of, stirring storms in places you thought were calm. Why? Because if they can't control your life, they'll try to invade your spirit. You'll feel it. That sudden heaviness, that unexplainable tension when they walk into a room, or when their number flashes across your phone. It's not coincidence. It's their strategy, because your silence threatens them more than your words ever could. They can fight you when you're loud, but they can't fight you when you're at peace, Peace exposes them, because while you're calm and steady, they're frantic and desperate. That contrast reveals the truth. And instead of facing their own brokenness, they try to pull you back into their storm, hoping you'll match their chaos, hoping you'll lose the control you fought so hard to reclaim. But here's where you hold the line. Peace doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean you're ignoring the problem. It means you refuse to hand over your energy to someone who's already shown they don't deserve it. It means you've mastered the discipline of not reacting, of letting their noise stay their noise, while you keep building your life in silence. And that silence, that's what burns them, because they can't stand that you no longer need to respond, explain, or defend yourself. They can't stand that you're living freely, detached from their grasp. Understand this: someone who tries to invade your peace is confessing their own emptiness. They're showing you that without chaos, they have nothing left, and once you see that, you stop taking it personally. You stop wondering why they won't leave you alone. You stop asking why they can't just move on. It's because they can't. They need conflict to survive, and your peace is proof they've already lost. So instead of fighting back, you protect what you've built. You guard your space, you make it clear that their access has been revoked, and no matter how loud they get, you're not opening the door. That's the turning point. When they throw everything they have at you just to rattle you, and you refuse to be moved, that's when they know. They can't touch you, they can't reach you. They can scream, they can stir, they can disrupt, but they can't destroy you. Because the moment you choose peace over reaction, you've already won. And when your peace proves untouchable, when every attempt to rattle you falls flat, they move to something far more subtle, testing your boundaries. Because control never starts with an explosion. It starts with a knock at the door. They won't come at you head on anymore. They'll disguise their intrusion as concern, as care, as reconciliation. You'll hear words like, "Can we just talk? I just want closure. I only want what's best for you." They'll soften their tone, lower their voice, and package manipulation as compassion. But make no mistake, this isn't care, it's calculation. They want to see if the walls you built are real, or if they're just temporary fences they can push over with the right words. Boundaries are uncomfortable for people like this, because boundaries remind them they no longer own you. And so they probe. They'll start small. A message you didn't ask for, a favor you never agreed to, a casual drop-in you didn't consent to. They want to see if you'll let it slide, if you'll bend just a little, if you'll think it's harmless. But here's the danger. Every inch you give becomes a mile they'll take. The moment you soften, they see an opening, and suddenly, what looked like kindness becomes the first chain wrapping itself back around your freedom. That's why discipline matters here more than ever, because boundaries are not cruel, they're necessary. Boundaries are not rejection, they're protection. They're not walls to keep the world out, they're shields to keep your soul safe. And you don't set them for other people, you set them for yourself. You set them as a declaration of self-respect, as proof that your energy, your peace, your life is not up for negotiation. And if someone truly cares for you, they won't test those boundaries, they'll honor them. Only those who seek to control you will keep pushing, keep probing, keep disguising control as care. So when the knock comes, when the message arrives, when they stand at your door dressed in false humility, you have to be ready to say no. And not just once, but every time, because the test won't stop after the first attempt. They'll circle back, they'll try again, hoping your guard will drop. But every time you stand firm, every time you refuse to bend, you're not just protecting yourself. You're teaching them a truth they hate to accept, that their access is gone. That the door they used to walk through freely has been permanently closed. And here's the beautiful thing, boundaries don't just keep them out. They keep you in alignment with who you're becoming. They remind you that you're not the same person they once controlled. You've grown, you've strengthened, you've learned. And every no you speak becomes a yes to your freedom, your healing, your power. That's why holding the line matters. Because once you prove your boundaries aren't negotiable, their last illusion of control shatters completely. And when every lie has failed, when playing the victim no longer moves you, when attacks on your confidence fall flat, when turning others against you doesn't shake you, when they can't disturb your peace and your boundaries stand like iron gates, they will reach for their last desperate weapon. They will try to become you. It's the most twisted move of all, because imitation is the admission of defeat. They can't break you, so they attempt to mirror you. They'll start to sound like you, dress like you, move like you. You'll hear your own words repeated back to you, see your habits suddenly showing up in their lives. And you'll know this isn't admiration, this is strategy, this is their attempt to claim what they could never create on their own. Because deep down they've studied you. From the very beginning, they've watched what makes you strong, what gives you light, what keeps you moving forward. And when control slips from their hands, they think if they can't extinguish your fire, maybe they can steal your spark. But here's the truth they'll never admit. They can't replicate what they don't understand. They can wear your clothes, but they'll never wear your character. They can copy your voice, but they'll never carry your conviction. They can try to mirror your confidence, but confidence built on imitation collapses the moment it's tested. And this is where you have to be sharp, because when they start imitating you, it can feel unsettling, even insulting. You'll think, why are they trying to be me? But instead of letting that irritate you, you remind yourself it's proof of your growth. It's evidence that you've risen so high they no longer know how to compete, only how to copy, because no one imitates weakness. No one mimics mediocrity. People only try to become what threatens them, what inspires envy, what reveals their own lack. So when they start to become a reflection of you, it's confirmation you've stepped into a level they cannot touch. But here's the key, you never lower yourself to prove your originality. You don't waste your energy trying to show the world who's the real one. You simply keep living, keep evolving, keep elevating. Because while they're stuck chasing your shadow, you're already stepping into the next version of yourself they can't even imagine. You keep moving forward, and every step you take makes their imitation more obvious, more hollow, more pathetic. That's how you win, not by fighting imitation, but by outrunning it. Not by shrinking so they'll stop copying, but by expanding so far they can't keep up. Because eventually, everyone will see the difference between a copy and the original, and the harder they try to become you, the more the world will recognize that you can't be duplicated. Your strength is yours, your voice is yours, your light is yours, and that's something no witch, no manipulator, no imitator can ever steal. And when the imitation fails, when even their shadow can't keep up with your light, they resort to provoking you. Because if they can't control your life, if they can't rewrite your story, if they can't infiltrate your circle or invade your peace, then maybe, just maybe, they can still control your reactions. They'll press the buttons they know well. They'll dig into old wounds, bring up your past, throw out insults so sharp and specific that only someone who once knew your weakness could deliver them. They want you to snap. They want you to explode. They want you to lose your composure, because the moment you lose control, they'll claim victory. This is the game they push you, not because they're strong, but because it's the last string they have left to pull. They'll create conflict out of nothing, start arguments over things that don't matter, just to drag you back into the chaos you walked away from. And here's the trap. If you react, You give them exactly what they crave, proof that they can still reach you. That even without chains, they can still jerk you around with a single word, but when you don't react, when you stand still, calm, unshaken, that silence burns more than any retaliation ever could. Think about it. Someone who can truly destroy you doesn't need to provoke you. They don't need to bait you. But when someone is poking, prodding, trying to stir you, it's because they've already lost direct power. It's desperation disguised as anger, and the worst thing you can do to desperation is starve it. Don't feed it your emotions, your attention, your energy. The less you give, the louder they get. The louder they get, the more exposed they become. And the more exposed they become, the clearer it is to everyone else who's really in control, you or them. So you breathe, you hold steady, you let them flail, let them rage, let them throw their tantrums, because at the end of the day, a provocation is only as strong as the reaction it pulls out of you. And when you refuse to bite, when you refuse to be moved, they realize the truth that the power they once held over you doesn't exist anymore. And when provoking you doesn't work, when you no longer flinch at their words or break under their pressure, they retreat to the shadows. But don't mistake silence for absence. That's when they start watching you. They stalk your progress because nothing eats them alive more than seeing you rise without them. They'll check your social media, ask mutual contacts about you, linger in places where they know you might appear. They won't always confront you directly, but make no mistake, they're monitoring you, because your growth has become their obsession. And here's why they can't understand how you're thriving without their control. They thought you needed them. They believed that once you broke away, you would crumble, that your life would unravel, that you'd come crawling back. But instead, they see you building, creating, glowing. They see you becoming more powerful, more confident, more at peace than you ever were with them. And it burns, it gnaws at them, because your success is the evidence they never mattered the way they believed they did. You'll notice the signs. They'll view your stories within seconds. They'll lurk but never engage. They'll drop indirect comments that prove they're paying attention. Some will even pretend they've moved on, but behind closed doors, they're scrolling through every move you make, analyzing it, comparing themselves, wondering why they couldn't break you. And this is where you must be disciplined, because the temptation is to perform for them, to flaunt your progress, to let them see exactly how well you're doing. But that gives them energy. You don't grow to prove them wrong. You grow because it's who you are. Understand this: when they stalk your progress, it's not a sign of their strength, it's proof of their weakness. Strong people don't obsess over the ones who walked away. Confident people don't spy on others, they build their own lives. So if they're watching, it's because they've stopped living and started feeding on the only thing they have left, your light. And that should tell you everything. It tells you that your silence is louder than their noise. It tells you that your growth is louder than their gossip. It tells you that your very existence, free and thriving, is the victory you don't even need to announce. So you keep going. You let them watch, let them burn, let them see every step you take forward, because no matter how closely they stalk, they can't stop what's already in motion. You're not who you were when they controlled you. You've evolved, you've risen. And while they're stuck peering through windows at your life, you're too busy building a future they'll never have access to again. And when all else fails, when the lies collapse, when the victim act doesn't hold, when your confidence remains untouched, when their army of gossip turns against them, when your peace stands firm, when your boundaries remain impenetrable, when their imitation falls flat, when their provocations no longer sting, and when even stalking your progress only leaves them in more torment, there is only one thing left. They destroy themselves, because people who live off control, manipulation, and deception cannot survive without a host. They need someone to feed on, someone to drain, someone to anchor their identity to. And when you cut that cord, when you refuse to play the game, when you strip them of access to your mind, your heart, your life, they are forced to face themselves. And that is the one thing they are most terrified of. They unravel not because you attacked them, not because you sought revenge, but because their power was never real. It only existed as long as you allowed it. Once your energy is gone, they collapse under the weight of their own emptiness. You'll see it happen. They'll spiral. They'll cling to new targets, but the cycle repeats because the problem was never you. It was always them. And without someone to manipulate, without someone to control, they're left staring into a void they can't escape. That's when bitterness consumes them, jealousy eats them alive, and their schemes backfire one after another. They fall not because you fought them, but because you refused to fuel them, and this is the part you have to remember. You don't need to seek revenge. You don't need to prove anything. Their destruction is self-inflicted. They will sabotage their own lives, their own relationships, their own opportunities, because the same poison they once tried to pour into you eventually corrodes them from within. What they plotted against you becomes their downfall. What they tried to strip from you becomes the very thing they lose themselves. It's not your job to watch it, to celebrate it, or to gloat over it. Your only job is to keep moving forward, to keep growing, to keep thriving. Because their collapse is not your victory, your freedom is, and that's the ultimate truth. When a witch, a manipulator, a controller can't hold you anymore, they don't just lose you. They lose themselves, they fade, they crack, they crumble under the pressure of their own emptiness. And while they're busy breaking, you're already building. While they're stuck in cycles of self-destruction, you're walking in cycles of growth. That is the final and undeniable proof that you were never the weak one. They were, and the moment you broke free, the game ended not for you, but for them. So in the end, you don't fight them to win. You don't chase them. You don't explain yourself. You don't try to make them see what they'll never admit. You win by refusing to play. You win by living. You win by standing in your truth so fiercely that nothing they say, nothing they do, no mask they wear, no storm they stir can ever move you again. Because the moment you break free, the power shifts forever. They can scream, they can copy, they can stalk, they can crumble, but none of it matters. You're untouchable now. Their downfall is not your story. Your rise is. And the greatest revenge, the truest justice, the most powerful answer to every witch who tried to control you is this: you walked away and you never looked back.